So I talk about the Caro-Kann a lot because it is popular nowadays. And I did a video showing what to do when your opponent plays G6 at a certain point, which I'll show you. But I also said in that video, if your opponent plays H6, it's very hard to attack. Well, I actually do have a system against H6 that is actually very powerful if my opponent doesn't play correctly, and you can win a game pretty convincingly, pretty quickly. Anyway, let's check it out right now. So after the exchange over here on F6, I play C3 and bishop D3. I play queen C2. Now, this is what I'm talking about when I mentioned the G6 or H6 move. I'm playing queen C2. I have a battery on H7, and H6 is the best move, arguably, and G6 is also the next best move. G6, however, from a human standpoint, and I show this in the video, it's not super easy to play because this is coming, and G6 gives your opponent something to bite on. So if they don't, they can't play this to stop it, which is what they usually do, because you have this sacrifice on G6, and your queen's coming into the game. So basically, they have to, after H4, pretty much just allow it, and this puts your opponent in a really bad spot. You're going to open up this file, which is really dangerous, and if they push or they try to push, that they just lose the pawn anyway. So that's why I say, now there are defenses to it, it's just you have to play really accurately, really sharply. So that's why I say H6, which my opponent played in this game, is a much better, more practical defense. However, it's not perfect, and I'll show you how I was able to get my opponent in this game. So I castle queenside, which is the same. I play F3 here, deflecting the bishop, and now I play queen D2. So when I'm facing H6, I switch my attack towards this H6 pawn here. Now, I did it at the wrong time. I actually should have been a little bit more patient and defended this pawn first because here he takes the pawn. He gets a free pawn, actually. I try to trap the bishop, but here he should just play bishop F8, and this will actually... so if you're playing black and you're playing the Caro-Kann, H6 and followed by eventually bishop F8 is excellent because it stops all sacrifices on H6. However, my opponent didn't play that, and if they go back, which is what a lot of players do because they're so ingrained to kind of keep their bishop on this diagonal instead of coming back here, which is what in the Caro-Kann you want to do with this setup, it's very dangerous, and now I'm able to play bishop H6. My opponent still has resources here. He has to actually ignore this sacrifice and just play something like knight A6, develop, and just focus on his attack. However, a lot of players I think would take back here, and that's what my opponent did. And now I have a completely winning position already because my opponent has absolutely no king here, and I have a mating attack, which my opponent didn't see. My opponent should play bishop F4 here. Not an easy move to see. Deflecting my queen, and now playing queen A5. Now, what's the point of all that? Well, if I try to go for this mating attack again, we have queen G5, which forces a trade of queens. And is white better here? Yeah, but black stopped himself from getting checkmated. However, black didn't see that here and just played queen D6. And this leads to a common mating pattern, which I hit with my opponent. And it ends up with mate on F7. Well, there you go. Hopefully you found that video helpful. If your opponent does play H6, you have that sacrifice at the right time. There's a battery with the queen and bishop. Also, another thing to note, when you're playing H6, if you put the bishop on F8, it stops all sacrifices. That's where it belongs. So H6, still the best defensive move, in my opinion, in that Caro-Kann opening, followed by bishop F8 at some point, and you should be golden. Anyway, if you found that video helpful, check out this one. I'll catch you next time. Go play some chess.